There you go.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, everyone. We're having our first City Finance Committee meeting of the new year. It's January 2nd, and it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We have a lot of people in attendance, so I'm not going to go through everybody. I think we have a rather long agenda, so I want to get into it. And as we do each item, we'll introduce each person. On behalf of council, though, myself and Eric Biter are here today. Councilwoman Maley's not able to make it. So let's get started, and we're going to move item 6, I believe it is. Yes. We're going to start with that this afternoon. Move that up. And it's a resolution authorizing extension of real estate broker services to Fish Real Estate. And Mayor Slaughter is going to present this. Welcome, Mayor.
Yes, good afternoon, Councilman Allison and Councilman Biter. Happy New Year to everyone. What you have before you is a resolution for the extension of real estate broker services. This is with Fish. This is just simply an extension of their current contract that we have with them. That was for 1 year. And of course, we're still working through the city hall and all of that. And so this is just simply extending it for an additional year. Nothing has changed within the contract. It's just a simple extension since that 1 year time frame is up, and this will just extend it for another year. We do have Tiffany Chofie on with us from Fish as well, if there's any questions for her.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Slaughter. Eric, do you have any questions?
I do not. The agreement, I would assume, is just the same as what it was. So,
yeah.
Okay. So,
yeah,
nothing.
It looked pretty brief.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't have any questions either, Mayor Slaughter. Unless there's anything you have to add.
Yeah.
Tiffany.
No, I don't think, unless Tiffany has anything she wants to add. I don't have anything further.
Are you good to go on that, Tiffany?
Yep, I am. I am good on my end.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you for bringing that up, and look forward to see what happens next in this adventure. Thanks a lot for all your help, Tiffany.
Sure, no problem. Thank you.
Have a great new year.
You too. Happy New Year, everyone.
Okay, let's move back to the beginning. Item 1 is ordinance with an ARPA transfer. Ordinance number 11. And Heather Jacoby, our finance director, will present that. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you. Good afternoon. This ARPA ordinance, transfer ordinance number 11, was actually put together by Tracy before she left. This was all the capital projects, agenda items for the budget that were moved to ARPA for payment. So why it looks so long is because Tracy trying to clear up some line items that only had a few dollar amounts left in them. So that's what this is for.
Okay. Eric, do you have any questions about it?
I do not. This was all covered pretty extensively during budget as to why we were doing this.
Exactly. Yeah, it looks complicated, and it is if you have to put it together, but we got the finished product, so that was and got a chance to talk about it. So okay, well, I think that takes care of it then, Heather. Thank you.
Thank you.
And it's always good to get that straightened down the way. Okay, item 2 is ordinance transfer 10, and Scott Livermore is going to present this. Welcome, Scott.
Good afternoon, everybody. So what you have before you is transfer ordinance number 10, transferring from Act 13 budget, reappropriating surplus $200,000 to the street resurfacing. To bring that to a total of, I need 400,000 in the Act 13. I need budgeted last year 200,000. The reasoning for the extra 200,000 is because we usually go after some CEDACOG money, but this year we couldn't because we didn't do the environmental reviews. We didn't get those done in order to pay for the streets to be paved with the money that I usually get from that. So I didn't want to take any streets off this list this year. And then in turn doing that, we added $200,000 out of Act 13 to be able to cover that. And then obviously I added some more money out of my liquid fuels to be able to get that. So we didn't have to take anything off. So yeah, it's just $200,000 extra added on the Act 13 for street resurfacing.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. Eric, do you have any questions?
The biggest one that I have, the point that you just raised, Mr. Livermore, was those environmental studies. Was that just something because John Sanders had left and there was just a little bit of an overlap?
Yeah, yeah, there was a little bit of oversight there. Obviously, we're on top of it. Me and Bill this year, we're making sure these are put in next year, so we don't have that problem again. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, related to that, would that have covered the 200,000 or?
Usually I get about 350,000 from CEDACOG.
Okay.
But you know, that was based on last year's paving contract. This year, me and Bill working closely on the new one, try to get some dollar figures and amount to where we know how much we're going to need from CEDACOG. So it'd probably be, this year's going to be right around 350,000 through them guys.
Not CEDACOG, CDBG, Scott.
Yeah, sorry, CBG.
CDBG, yeah,
Yep.
okay.
CEDACOG is helping us out.
Right.
And that 200,000, is that, that covers what, maybe 5 city blocks or 4
Oh,
city
well,
blocks? Maybe 3 with prices.
yeah, it all depends on what's entailed on it. The total amount for it was $963,289 for the paving contract this year. I have 413,000 coming out of liquid fuels, 400 out of Act 13, 25,000 out of county liquid fuels, and 125,000 out of the general fund that I have to cover all this.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay. All right, that's all I have. Okay. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate that. Let's move to item 3. Resolution to approve CGB solution to provide technical assistance to City Council. And this is Mr. Yoder, or says Adam Yoder. Is he presenting this? Or are you doing it, man?
I don't know. No, I'm not doing it. I was going to say I didn't see Adam. I talked to him this morning. Yeah.
Okay.
He didn't say anything to me about presenting, so I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have anything other than the agenda item, which, I mean, that has information in it. Eric, there's nobody we can question, but what do you have some questions that we can?
No, and again, just my assumption is that it's going to be to have our meetings recorded in the evenings for council meetings, but probably nothing that is going to be able to be handled when we come up with this on Thursday with questions and so on. So
okay,
we'll give Adam a pass. It's his only one. He used it early in the year.
Yeah, he gets that's his freebie.
Yeah.
Do we get one?
It's $250 a meeting. So it's a set price. I just did a little bit of math, you know, what we have. I made it probably high 30 meetings. So that would be about $7,500 for the year. We do that many. So maybe, hopefully it'll be less, but so that's what we're talking about. So we'll have to see how we're going to budget that, or where we're going to take that from. And it's not a huge amount, so we should be able to handle that pretty well. Okay, well, let's move on to item 4. Resolution, City of Williamsport authorizing issuance and sale of our tax anticipation note. And Heather, you're up again.
Hello again. Tracy had put me in contact with John Jablonski through M&T and to start preparing for this tax anticipation note for 2024. He sent the note over and Norm had revised the resolution with all the current data for this year. This is only in case the city needs this money. This is not going to take this tomorrow funding. This is just in case we come into trouble, which Tracy had it set up this way last year.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Heather. Yeah, this is pretty much one of those standard things. Do you have any? It's $2 million and only going to cost us anything if we use any of it. So
Exactly.
hopefully that doesn't happen. Eric, any questions?
Nope, this is, happy to say this is my 3rd time that we've had to go through this one, so I'm becoming much more familiar with it, so.
Right. And I did notice in their notes, they said today, which is not a guarantee of what might happen in the future, but if we had borrowed on it today, it's at 6.75%. So more incentive not to have to use it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Let's move to item 5. Resolution authorizing execution of a lease agreement between Wall and the City of Williamsport. And this is Mayor Slaughter.
Yes, good afternoon again, Councilman Allison, Councilman Biter. This is just the execution agreement with Wall to use Brandon Park. We had this agreement. We've had this agreement with them for a while now. Of course, the last few years, the fields at Brandon specifically have not been in playing condition, as we all know. Of course, City Council allocated funds to make those improvements and bring the fields back in great playing condition. So Wall plans to of course be on those this coming season. And so this is just a renewal of their agreement for those fields there at Brandon. Ronnie Deemer, who's the president of Wall, is unable to join us here today, this afternoon, but he'll be, I believe he's planning to be there Thursday evening if there are specific questions for Wall. But they are excited. Of course, we're all excited to see those fields back in use again, and having the kids out there playing ball. That's exciting. So,
okay.
So there's no, I think it's $1 or whatever for the lease, and
Right.
it's what it's, nothing within the lease has changed from previously.
Yeah. Eric, you're totally bought into this part of our recreation program.
Yeah.
Any
Absolutely.
questions or comments?
No, is there going to be a representative from Wall at the meeting on Thursday?
I believe Ronnie Deemer is planning to attend. Yes.
All right.
I believe.
Just a couple of things that I'd like to ask, just what other expectations are and things like that for Wall for the coming year, what we have for them, what they have for us with the new facility and so on. So just like to have that publicly hammered out.
Yep. And I'll reach back out to him once again to make sure him or a representative from Wall will be there.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just had a couple questions like that as well. And thinking about, things in the future or other possibilities of using it for maybe playoff games of other leagues and things like that. Okay. Thanks, Mayor Slaughter. So we already did item 6. Let's move on to item 7, resolution authorizing execution of an agreement between WSP and the City of Williamsport Levy Relief Well Project. And the mayor can start this off, but we have Gaz here and Mary from WSP. Gaz from she's our go-to engineer who's been involved in this project for years now. Some of us have been with her from the beginning. It's been a pleasure working with her, and we've gotten good service. So, Mayor Slaughter, do you want to kick it off?
Sure. I'll kick it off. And as you said, I will quickly turn it over to
right.
Gaz expertise. But as you said, Councilman Allison, we've been at the levy for many years now. And it's nice. We're starting to see all the fruits of that labor start to pay off in the form of actual physical work. So this is another step in that process. This is the relief well design services for the design and engineering. As you mentioned, WSP has been part of this process for many, many years. And they actually were the only one to bid on the design engineering for the relief well. So we got one bid. It was from WSP, which makes sense as you mentioned, since they've been with us for so long, they have the institutional knowledge, and it only makes sense that they continue on. They have the good working relationship with the Corps and with the county. And we do have the $8 million that Congressman Keller and Senator Casey advocated for at the time. So that will be part of this. I do have a call into FEMA and PEMA because Gaz and I have been talking, and there may be a possibility that we would get an advance on those funds. And so I'll keep City Council posted if we're able to get an advance. It was over the holidays, of course, so we expect to hear from them probably this week, whether there's an advance or not. Either way, clearly we have to do the project, and it will be, the earmark will be used to fund the project. So anyway, this is the design engineering for the relief well. It's very exciting to start this process and really start to get shovels in the ground in the not too distant future. There'll be a lot of levy stuff coming over the next, couple months and a year or two as well. So we're really getting pedal to the metal now, which is exciting. So with that, I'll turn it over to Gaz and let her talk more of the technical details.
Thank you, Mayor Slaughter and Councilman Allison and Beater. I appreciate the opportunity to go over this with you all. I know we had attempted to put out the relief wells for construction using the design that the Army Corps had initially created in the 1950s and constructed, but it became apparent during the site visit with the Corps and reviewing all the information that doing a full design with investigations and really determining what you need would be the most cost-effective and productive solution for you to move into the future. And so we took the scope that needed to be executed and tailored it to meet the needs of the financial requirements. There are milestones within our project that reflect submissions for review either by the PEMA group for approving ground disturbance for the drilling and also submissions to the Corps, really laying out the groundwork to keep everyone in the loop and on the same page while we're moving forward, so that any submission is anticipated and the design basis is also something that we intend to really hash out early on and make sure everyone is in concurrence so that we're moving forward with what everyone expects to with the protection that everyone expects to receive from the levy system, right? So that's kind of the broad explanation. I guess, do you want me to dive in per milestone? Did you have any questions about the proposal? Because it's long and I don't want to waste anyone's time.
It is, it's a rather complex undertaking. I was able to sit in on the meeting with the county that they invited us to, and that was educational, to say the least. But, you know, way out of my league. But it's nice to be able to get a concept anyhow of what all is involved. And do you have any questions, Eric?
I don't have any questions. I think what would be beneficial, not just for myself, but other members, so I won't make you do it twice, if you go through those milestones for us, so that way we can just have a better understanding as far as the timetable for this goes. I appreciate knowing that we could possibly get an advance on that earmark, but Mayor Slaughter, what is the plan if we do not? Where are we going to pull funding from for this?
So we've been talking about a grant anticipation note. If the funding does not come through, and of course, I believe we put some money in the emergency reserve fund from the levy or for the levy. So if we don't get the advance, then the administration will have to work with city council to determine, do we want to take out a grant anticipation note, or do we want to utilize some of the emergency reserve funds that were allocated originally for the levy?
So I do have a flow chart with milestones. Would it be helpful to try and share my screen with the group here so that you can see as I walk through? Trying to get that up here. Let's see.
Or maybe
No.
You probably have to, Chris probably have to make you a co-host, maybe our IT, or do we want, I mean,
I can walk through.
You
I
should,
don't know if Thursday evening.
guys, you should be able to share that now.
Okay, all right, let me. It says the host has disabled participant screen sharing.
What?
Have you been hacked, Chris?
No, how about
wait.
now?
It just came up. It
Okay.
just came up. Thank you. Appreciate
There we
that.
go.
All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So in terms of the overall timetable, Mary, correct me if I'm wrong. And, you know, actually, Mary, I hate to do this to you. I'm actually going to ask you to walk through this. So Mary is the project manager that I've designated here. Let me introduce you to her. And Mary has been working on our Southwest Illinois levee system for decades now. She's worked through this process with the Army Corps in the past, so it's not her first rodeo. And so, Mary, if you don't mind, I will be happy to point and lead the way. But
Sure.
if you could walk through the milestone, that would be great.
Sure. Am I fully unmuted?
You are. We can
guys
hear you well.
Okay, so this hopefully will not overwhelm everybody. This is one of the two flow charts in the proposal, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen. And we won't go through all 40 squares, but we'll kind of give you an overview of maybe the main milestones, and then we can drill into any questions if you guys have any. So for kind of this first kind of like overall flow chart that we have presented here, you'll see it consists of 3 separate milestones. And at the end of these milestones, the objective is really to be able to step forward and have our proposed under seepage controls. So that's going to take, you know, multiple steps to get there. The first step, milestone 1, and one of the first most important steps you'll see right behind that is establishing the design criteria. And Gauze touched on that a bit, but you know, there's been a lot of conversations with you all internally, and then there's been a lot of conversations with the Corps and FEMA versus the federally authorized level of protection, which is kind of under review. And those are different water levels. And depending on the water levels that we want to walk forward with for the level of protection, that's going to affect a lot of what we're doing behind that. So, you know, more water, more protection is, you know, the relationship there. So that very first milestone you see will be very important for us to kind of work through together, make sure we're all in agreement with, what we're proceeding with, so that as we move forward through these next steps, we're kind of all addressing the understood level of protection. So maybe I just pause there for a second, because that's a pretty important point, and just see if anybody has any questions about that.
The question that I have, if I may, why would we not just do this to the maximum level of water or maximum volume of water?
So that's a great question. So depending on the system and the level of protection we're pursuing, for example, FEMA, and Gauze, you might have to help me out with this. The FEMA water level might only come within 6 feet of the top of the levee. I'm not sure with this particular system where it hits in terms of
It varies. Yeah,
Okay.
it varies. But along the Susquehanna, there are places where you have 4 to 5 feet of freeboard from the FEMA event that they map against. But then to what Mary's saying, what the system was designed to, which was Agnes, is not by the Corps is not necessarily what FEMA maps against. It's a different water surface elevation. And so we're pursuing getting you FEMA accreditation, and at the base minimum, right? You guys need to make sure your maps at the base minimum would meet that. There would be a considerable cost difference to reach the maximum level of protection that you could get by assuming it would be completely full of water. And that's what we're trying to determine in milestone 1 is what would be a palatable level of protection and associated cost, right? It might not be just the bare minimum FEMA level, but it also might not be the absolute maximum because of the cost. And so that's what we're trying to help the city identify, what would be the design basis that we would pursue that everyone would be comfortable with, in the grand scheme of taking it all the way. Does that kind of summarize?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's, that factor will have a large impact on the ultimate end cost, right?
Mm.
So and I'll make these numbers up, if we're designing to a level that's 6 feet below the crest versus all the way to the crest, which would be the maximum, there's a difference in the level of protection that would be required from the infrastructure to support those different, flood events. So that's why that is our very first step, because we want everybody, like Eric was asking a great question about that. But so we want everybody on the same page regarding that very important factor.
Mm.
So
Can
sorry,
I
go ahead.
ask one question before you
Of
leave
course.
that? You mentioned Agnes. Is that a benchmark that's used, or is that just?
Yeah, so it looks like the Army Corps reevaluated the design basis of your system after Tropical Storm Agnes. It's unclear if they reauthorized the level, like if congressionally they actually passed a law to change the design basis, or if they just made improvements. And that's something that the Corps was looking into to figure out, what's the congressional basis. But they did go in and make changes to the system in Agnes and had ensured that the system would be able to protect against a flood of that level. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're at least covered to that we know. All right.
Right.
Thank
In
you.
terms of the design basis from the Corps, yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions regarding the design criteria? That's a big one. So I'm glad it's kind of a point of discussion, because that's a very important point. So no other questions, I'll kind of keep moving on then.
No, good to go.
So, once we have the design criteria, we're going to kind of in that first milestone, We're going to come out, look at the levy, and then review the records, which you guys do have, as you know, substantial records. And identify if there's any areas that might benefit from additional information, particularly with relief wells. We're going to be looking at topography, and the aquifer is very important regarding the relief wells. So making sure we can fully characterize your aquifer to see if that area supports wells and will wells be effective. And so at the end of that, and Gauze might be able to touch about why this was added to the end of milestone 1, we would prepare what's referred to as a drilling program plan. That's part of our 408. We present to the Corps where we plan to drill, why we plan to drill, our drilling methods, and then ask them to review the plan. And then we'll wait for their response and comment at the end of milestone 1.
Yeah, I can add a little bit of detail there. So this milestone, this extra step got worked in because in order to get the PEMA earmark money to allow projects that have disturbance, there does have to be an environmental evaluation and a review by PEMA and other agencies to ensure that any earth disturbance we do is sound, is meeting all of the requirements. And also, obviously, with the Corps, we need to show that our drilling will not impact the levee in any negative way. So we had anticipated a milestone to submit to the Corps, but with the PEMA milestone as well, it worked out where we would submit to all of those agencies at the end of milestone 1 to get their review of that anticipated groundbreaking, if you will, to go out and disturb around the levee and get more information. So that's why that was added as a significant step, because we needed to make sure that they would all have their opportunity to submit comment or to have their review.
Yeah, and you'll see the little color coding dots maybe throughout the PDF there on Gaza's screen. Those are kind of showing you when we're anticipating coordination with whether it's you or PEMA or USACE. So this is really a collaborative approach, because we never want to get too far in any of these steps without concurrence from either you as the user or the Corps as, a bit of the authorization. So that would be the end of milestone 1. Any other questions there? All right, hearing none. Milestone 2 is when we would actually head out into the field to get the soil samples we identified at the end of milestone 1. And regarding the timetable on milestone 1, for those who may not be familiar, when we submit drilling plans, and this varies by district, so this may not be the case with Baltimore, but it can take 3 to 6 months to get a drilling plan approved from USACE. So that's.
I'm going to interrupt you really quick. I'm sorry. Randy and we live in the same neighborhood, and we just lost power. So
okay.
I got kicked off. I just jumped on a cell phone. I don't know if Randy's going to be able to real quick or not. So that may change
give it a moment.
Rest of the meetings.
Minute?
Yeah.
Well, and Councilman Bider, do we want to maybe then just have Gaz save this for Thursday evening for the full body? Or
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that as well, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions. And I hate to make you go through it twice.
I've already been through it 5 or 6 times, so don't worry. One more time isn't an issue.
I appreciate that, but I don't want to. Yeah, shoot.
I mean, I can give you guys an abbreviated, because this again is only one of the 2 flow charts. So I'm happy to give you a shorter one if you would like to hear it now.
I would like to hear as much as possible, but I also, given the way our committees are structured here, technically we got to get Randy back on. So.
Oh, I see. Okay. I'll do then whatever you prefer.
So why don't we just hold on this? I don't know if I'm going to be able to log in here and see the rest of our agenda.
I think Randy just hung up when he heard something about the time frame on the drilling plan.
I didn't hear that, so.
Well, the recap on that is I think a drill plan takes about 3 to 6 months for approval from the Army
Okay.
Corps. Yeah.
All right. That's
think
not
overall-
terrible.
No, I
Yeah,
mean, and for one step, it's not. I think overall we find that the reviews from the Corps will probably add over a year, maybe a year and a half in terms of time with the multiple steps that we do have to submit to them. So the overall timetable, I think we had assumed at around 3 years.
Okay.
Which
And I know
again,
Randy was there for that before. Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
no, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry about that, guys. And then maybe to Councilman Biter's point earlier, as far as some of the time fables for reimbursement, or like we have a little bit of time here to work with Pima to figure out the advance and things, correct? I mean, it's not like, next week we're going to start getting invoices.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we haven't kicked off, like we got the contract. Obviously, we haven't kicked off with you. We got the contract from the county just last week, and
Right.
we were going to start reviewing the design criteria for the overall system and preparing drill plans for that as well. So there's some work that has to be done before we could really even produce anything. And we would obviously at least be a month or so out from invoicing from any notice to proceed. So, even if you guys did award this Thursday and we got paperwork in the next couple weeks, we probably wouldn't kick off until later in the month or beginning of February, and you probably wouldn't see an invoice until March. So
Right.
kind of, yeah.
Right. Plenty of time to work with Pima and get on board with, make sure we're on the same page and get things squared away. So that's good. And just very quickly, for the public, you have mentioned the county. Do you just want to briefly mention, because it's all tied together, the work that you were approved for last week or week before?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So the county, after the city put out a request for proposals for the city's relief wells, the county also asked us to provide them with a proposal to do that analysis and design for South Williamsport. And we followed the same flow charts, the same methodology, because effectively we have to do all the same things. And some of these items will obviously work hand in hand with the counties, and we can do these in tandem with one another. So I do think that it would be, it's a great parallel path to evaluate the design basis and make sure that the region is working together with the same design basis, because the levy systems have been submitted to Congress now as a regional levy system. And so we do want to make sure that we keep them linked in that regard as well.
Yeah. No, thank you. I thought that was important to point out just for the public, so they realize it is sort of all tied together, even though it's separate sections or whatever, but it's as you said, it's a regional system. So I think that's important to note. And we're all working hand in hand, city, the county, state, feds, et cetera. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. And yeah, we can be available. I can be there Thursday. I can ask Mary if she can make that time, and we can also go through this again. I can walk through it if Mary's not available Thursday evening as well. So either way, we can definitely walk through it. Oh, hey, Randy, welcome back.
He's just still connecting. But no, that's great. And I'll send you the Zoom link, guys, for Thursday evening. And Mary.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Councilman Allison, they just were, Councilman Biter said you all lost power, but Gaz and Mary just were saying that they can go over the full, their presentation Thursday night for the full body of council. And then she mentioned how the county just is going through the same process with the South Williamsport side, so that it's all the regional levy, we'll all be working together on parallel with all of this. So it all ties together, as you know. I think we just thought it was important to note that we're all working together in the county, in the city. We'll all be doing this together.
Great. Okay, well, I think it's a good idea. Everybody can get the same information at once, pretty much.
Sure thing. We'll be available on Thursday then.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Guys and Mary, appreciate you bringing us up to speed.
Of course, thank you.
Take care.
Thank you too. Have a happy new year.
Thank you, you too. Okay, now I got everything back up.
I think it's just the fire one is the last one, Randy, I believe.
Yeah,
The agreement
Yeah.
between Borough Fire and Essential Personnel Corporate.
right. And Sam's here. Eric, are you good to go?
Yep, Chief is here, I believe. Chief Ongst is on.
I'm
Okay,
good to go, Randy.
all right. Okay,
Yes, he's here. He's coming, Mayor and Mr. Allison.
okay, that's great.
All right, sorry about that.
No, we're sorry. We're the ones
No,
that
no, sorry.
disappeared on everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Talking to Jimmy Olson, Phil Holmes.
Oh,
So what you have before you is a resolution for an agreement between the Williamsport Bureau of Fire and Essential Personnel. Essential for us, it will be taking over Power DMS. We piggyback on with the police department for Power DMS. For the police department, it works well for them because of the state mandates, the state policies and everything.
right.
But on the fire side for the state, we don't have that. So really the only thing that we utilize Power DMS for is for our SOGs that we put out, our operating guidelines, anything else, any other documents that we feel the need to put out to our personnel. We use it for that. However, with this essential personnel, the essential personnel, it does the same thing as Power DMS for us. So it'll store those special operating guidelines and the and procedures, but it'll also allow us to perform evaluations on our personnel, track the training, certification, awards, and then it also does health and wellness, has a health and wellness module that tracks the exposures and injuries that the firefighters may come across. So, that's why we're looking at going to this. Right now, it costs, what was it, $66.57 more per year to go to essential personnel than what we're paying for ESO right now. And ESO has been, it is a wonderful platform for the police department. It suits their needs, and so but for us, it's we just need a little bit more. So
Great. Yeah.
any questions or anything?
Eric, any questions? No, not since, I mean, you've had something like this in place, like you said, piggybacking with the police. And does this help lower our liability insurance or anything like that?
No, it wouldn't. I don't believe that this has an effect on that.
Okay.
Molly and I were talking initially when I first talked to essential personnel, and she asked the same question, but because it's just tracking the injuries and illnesses,
Okay,
so it's not really
not preventative, it's just,
right. Now there is also other aspects on that health and wellness that tracks. Well, I shouldn't say it tracks, but it helps with the psychological effects, PTSD, those kinds of things. And it'll help the employees that may have maybe suffering from some PTSD to get the help that they need.
Okay, great.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you for the update, and sounds like it's a even better deal at a small amount of money, so.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Chief, Assistant Chief, thank you both of you guys.
You bet.
And who's ever in the background there, can't see.
That's Renee.
Oh, hi, Renee.
Mr. Allison and Mr. Biter, just so you know that was a transformer fire while you guys lost power.
Oh, okay, wow. You're the people in the know, that's for sure.
That's very good to know.
Yeah, it is, yep. Well, they got it back up really quick, so.
Good.
All right, thanks a lot. Well,
Thank you. We'll see you Thursday.
yes, sir.
Alrighty.
All we have left are any related items. Mayor, do you have anything else, or anybody who's remaining here?
No, nope, I do not have anything else.
I have nothing.
All right. Well, then, we'll entertain a resolution entertain a motion to end the meeting.
And I will second a motion.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And we're out of here. Thanks, everybody. See you. Well, I'll see some of you tonight.
See you some midnight.
Yep. All right, later.